What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for episode 11 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean. Yeah, man, another fantastic episode. The ending was pretty great, where we finally see Jolene has met up with Father Pucci, and I'm definitely excited to watch the last episode, or at least the last episode of this batch. Uh, once, after I'm done recording this, but yeah, man. Let's just jump right in. So he starts off with Father Pucci, and the guards are kind of trying to figure out what's going to be caffeine, what the guards are doing when they start to lock down that area and close the gates on those places. And Father Pucci's one like, oh, what's going on? So they say like, oh, it's nothing, it's nothing. No, man, couldn't be a prison break or anything. It's nothing. And so he says, no need to worry. He's like, I'm not worried. I have the full faith in fucking whatever the prison's called to the fourth. I forget what the prison's called. It's like a dolphin something. But anyway, he mentions that, but he just got a little curious. And then he says, you do realize there hasn't been a sample prison escape in over 20 years, right? Yes, of course. So as he's about to take his leave, he notices on the computer that it has the phone record. It has like the history of the phone calls made from the prison, and of course, it's on the females version, which of course means Jolene's call to the Speedwagon Foundation is there, plain as day, plain as day. So obviously, of course, Father Pucci gets curious about this one and asks them to actually play the record. Which first, can we just talk about this Father Pucci? This man has a lot of power in this prison. Way more than I think a normal priest should have in prison. Like, what priest is given, like, regardless that he's a priest and all that shit. Like, what kind of priest in a fucking prison has the power to be like, oh, hey, can you play me just this random phone call recording? And they actually do it, which I assume is what happened. They never actually show him listening to it on screen. But I would assume they did. I would assume they let him hear it. How much power does this man wield? Is this just Pale Snake doing all the talking? How does this man have so much power in this prison? That's what I want to know. Or maybe they just like him that much. I don't fucking know. Anyway, regardless of such, we get back with Jolie and the others. They're trying to figure out where he is, and weather forecast mentions that he's probably still there, and he's most likely still there, and tells Jolie not to panic. So after she takes off her jacket, then we see Jolene kind of get embarrassed, where she's basically trying to tell weather forecast that she has to take a piss. She's like, it's a bodily urge you have. It starts with you, and you think thank God it's a number two. And she's like moving her leg, and she's like rubbing her thighs against each other. Her hands are down there doing everything, man. And then everybody's like, oh, you need to take a piss? She's like, don't say it while I'm so close. He's like, well, you'll have to do it over there. It's like, ugh, I knew I should have never asked. A man. And then this man shows, I already did it. And then you see his piss just floating in there, man. Which I just thought was hilarious. And the exit just shows that his piss is just floating over there. And now, thankfully, this man did clarify later, just a bit later on, that indeed that's clouds will absorb the piss. So it's not just lingering there in 0 G's, thankfully, because that's kind of nasty. But anyway. So weather forecast explains that basically all the blood is all the way up into her head because of gravity, or it's in like her legs, and because of this, it kind of like creates this effect because it's all right there, like where your like face becomes squishy. It looks like, and basically because the blood is there's so much blood up there, and that's a bad thing. The kidneys start working to get rid of the sodium through piss, obviously giving you the strong urge to fucking piss, so you can get that sodium out there. So it can thin the blood and hopefully, prolong. But then, while that's going on, she starts to piss, and the clouds start to absorb it or not absorb it. Couldn't really, all this was happening off screen. You couldn't really tell what was going on. But anyway, her piss and then her blood start getting sucked out through like these little holes in the doors of this factory or warehouse, wherever the fuck they are, and then air, like the air starts leaving. It comes out like every, like, you know, a sci-fi movie, like whenever they're like in space and someone breaks the windows, you just see air gets sucked out, then everyone else gets sucked out. Then these like metal doors always come in to close it up so the air, so that no more air gets leaked. That's basically what happened here. Only this time everyone was bleeding profusely. Jolene's bleeding from her finger, from her nose. Weather forecast is also bleeding from like his head. Everybody is bleeding like their prime Ric Flair. So they obviously start. So that's when they realize that obviously that the whole place, because Jolene touched the door, the floor, and the wall, the whole room has become a 0G environment. So they have to cover the walls so that they don't suffocate. I don't know how they would suffocate. I guess from the air leaving completely, they be inside a vacuum. I guess that's how they would suffocate. I don't know. I'm not a fucking astronomist. If that's even the right terminology, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Anyway, but then weather forecast mentioned that it's not going to be suffocation that's going to kill them. It's going to be their blood that kills them, because when you're stuck in a vacuum, the blood boils like water. I don't know how, but it does. It boils like water, and that is what's going to kill you far more than through suffocation. That will kill you quicker than suffocation will ever will when all the air leaves the building, leave this area. So as they're trying to figure out what's going on, eventually they get stuck inside weather forecast puts them inside these spacesuits. Or these like cloud suits, but they're basically astronaut suits. Like, this is when the movie becomes fucking Gravity, or the episode becomes Gravity, starring Sandra Bullock. And who the fuck else who's the other guy in that movie? I don't remember. But you guys know Sandra Bullock starred in it. It was a fantastic film. Check it out if you haven't. Anyway, so they're now inside these spacesuits, and they have like maybe about 2 minutes worth. They have air for maybe about 2 minutes. So that's when Jolene notices that in the far side of the room, there is this laundry hamper and some barrels that are not there. They're firmly planted on the ground, and you can even see a little outline in that general area, signaling that yes, this is indeed where the end of his area or his ranges for his stand is. Meaning that area is where there's gravity and fresh air. So obviously, they have to get to that area so that their heads don't fucking explode. Which is what they do. Weather forecast goes for it, but of course, you had Jumping Jack Sparks right there, ready for him. Fires off these nails, which we do find out later in the episode that yes, the dude is firing off nails, nuts and bolts in there, because that's what he's literally putting inside his fucking gauntlets to fire them off with. It's literally just nuts and bolts, just buckets, just like these boxes of them. So he fires them off, which ends up managing to hit his suit. And so obviously now all the air is leaving out. He's trying to get out of there. But Jolene comes in there and is going to try her best to protect him from Jumping Jack Sparks. So he starts firing his nuts and bolts at Jolene. Jolene is blocking them, and eventually he mentions like, "Oh, if you want air, you won't have to even go through the hamper," and fires his like nuts and bolts off. Ricochets off one barrel and hits a bunch of barrels and ricochets into a bunch of other shit, and then eventually actually hitting one of the barrels on the outside, or like this one that was just chilling that had air in it, that had a little bit of air in it, pressurizing it, and then it sends hurling right towards weather forecast, obviously knocking him off the trajectory of where his range ends, throwing him back into the middle, and then now he's just spinning around and he can't stop the momentum of him because he doesn't really have anything to stop him with. So he's just like kind of like moving, so he's just like going around doing like flips in midair, trying to figure out. So then Jolene actually punches a hole in her suit and having the air thrust her over to where weather forecast is, and we also see weather forecast's mask is it's like cracked up. He's bleeding a little bit in his head, and it's like there's like little massive like bubbles popping up around his head, obviously insinuating that he is going to blow up soon. So then he fires off some more nuts and bolts at Jolene, and they directly hit her. They crack up her helmet, and it comes off like she might have actually died here. But then this dude goes on thinking he has won the battle. He's just like, "Oh, I will even defeat Pale Snake with my own hands." And then when he looks at his hands, he notices there's Jolene's threads all over him. Throughout there, like in like the holes of his on his gauntlets. You have them like you have her threads in like his box of nuts and bolts. And then we find that Jolene actually the nuts and bolts that were fired at her are also connected to her thread. She just did this whole thing, and buy her time. So then she could just push him into the zero gravity room, and also because he doesn't have a spacesuit, his blood starts boiling immediately. And she's telling him, hey, if you want to get out of this, you're gonna have to release the zero gravity in here. But he does not relent. He instead grabs out this like glass with I don't know what this is. I'm not a fucking chemist. He said it was like parksing dioxide and mix it with something else. Like I said, I'm not a fucking chemist. This ain't Breaking Bad. So, and then he throws it at her, and this is when we find out that actually what he was in for. This dude was in for murdering a woman that I think he said like a college professor. I would assume it was his chemistry professor, considering the tools he is using at this current moment. And how many times do you guys want to guess he stabbed this woman? 10 times, 20, 30, maybe even 100, maybe even 1,000 times if he was really angry. You want to know the exact number? 69. I had to do that bad. So yeah, he stabbed this woman 69 times because of fucking course he did. I was like, bro, 69? Really? I see you, Araki. I see you. So yes, my man stabbed this woman 69 times. So anyway, he throws the bottle at her. All I know is it creates oxygen, which is obviously going to fuck Jolene up, and then goes on about something about shards of glass and making it reek of piss. I was like, wait, what? I didn't really catch all of what he was saying, man. But anyway, after all of that, Jolene's suit is now completely gone. She has new fresh wounds now, so her blood is going to boil way faster than his is. But then weather forecast comes in there and gives her his suit, and obviously reviving her. And then obviously because now he knows he's fucked, he then finally decides to release the zero gravity, and gravity. Also, throughout this section of the episode, we actually get a good look of like the area of that is zero gravity in like this dome shaped thing, and I thought it looked really cool when we just saw like this massive area just with like this like bubble around it. Obviously, saying that this part is zero gravity. I thought it looked really cool, man. I thought it looked really cool. Anyway, so once he finally releases the gravity, he is met with a mean right hook from Stonos. And then Jolene ridicules this man for not doing his quicker, saying, you could have gotten out of here quicker if you just done releases at the start. But now that because of your arrogance, the wind is bringing you right to me. Then we get the orders. And Kira did an amazing job here, man. Love her orders. And then finally, he is thrown into the laundry hamper, and Jolene finally gets the CD. So then the weather forecast tells her what she's going to do with it. What's her plan now? And she says basically she's going to use his work permit and trick whatever guards on the other side to open the door, and then beat up what other guards she has left, and then of course give the Speedwagon Foundation the CD. And so he's like, huh, and I don't know if weather forecast was being sarcastic here or not, but he says, oh, what a great plan. Not only will you be charged with escape from prison, but you'll also be locked in solitary confinement for half a year. You'll be in a room so small you won't even be able to exercise. Which makes the question, how small is this room? If she can't actually, like if we talk exercise, like, you know, she can't even do like sit-ups or like push-ups or anything, then fuck me, that's one small-ass room. But, yeah. Anyway, so Jolene knocks on the door, puts the key card in, and then she says, oh, and then the guard says, or who we think is a guard, says, oh, what's going on? Oh, it's you. So then the door opens and we find out that's Father Pucci on the other side, and that's when Father Pucci and Jolene finally have their first face-to-face confrontation. And that is when the episode ends with Joyce is like, wait, he dresses like a credits. Then there's a couple seconds and it says credits. I'm like, I feel like it would have been better if they just said like a credits rather than just leaving that 2 seconds of dead air before the credits roll. Anyway, guys, another fantastic episode. No lie, I'm looking forward to finally being done reviewing this batch of episodes for JoJo. Still got one more left, and I'm definitely very excited to see what we got in store what's in store, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, guys, overall, I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10, guys. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you feel like it. Links down in the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time. You